All right, and welcome back to episode 67 of The Bench, powered by Wowhead, where class tuning has just recently been posted, much to the befuddlement of all of our hosts here, where we were, I think, all a little bit astonished that they posted any class tuning, much less class tuning that is apparently nerfing Beastmastery Hunters. I think Squishy said 4.5%, is that right?
Yeah, I got the number 4.5% from Tarlo, and I was expecting class tuning. I also wasn't expecting nerfs to class tuning. Like, we're tuning them now?
You're
Here
asking,
lies the
you're
body
asking a
of
good
civilian.
question.
Civilian is rest in peace.
Yeah, but those
2025 to 2025.
But what about Yumi TV, the discipline priest?
Well, it's currently in season 2 gear. I think I did one hard mode and one weekly on that guy all season. And I will not be playing it because Resto Druid exists.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised just to see that they were going to be doing any more class tuning. I kind of felt like they were going to be in like autopilot mode. I don't think that this class tuning is particularly bad. It's more just like Blizzard kind of reaches a state where they just don't mess with stuff anymore, and I kind of felt like we were at that point. Now,
I also kind of feel like the class tuning that they did, to be fair, I'm complaining about it, but I think these are good changes. Like, if anything, these are classes where weeks ago we were like, where are these changes, right? Like, everybody knew Frost DK was good. Everyone knew BM Hunter was ridiculous. Everybody knew Disc Priest was in the bin and raid. And so we're assuming, I guess, that because they haven't done anything yet, that they were just checked out. But nope, they had to come in one last fell swoop and kill all my characters that I'm playing in raid before they move on to midnight.
I'm not complaining because I think that these are mostly good. And whenever Blizzard buffs and nerfs specializations, particularly in the middle of a season, they very rarely like change roughly how much they impact the meta. Like, you know, a 3% nerf.
I mean, you're not complaining because you're an
Ellie
Ellie shaman. If your class was on here, you'd be like, "Oh wow, how is Blizzard doing
If Ellie
this?"
got nerfed by 3%, I don't think I could care. Like, it's one of those things where I was like, okay, whatever.
What up, Boomkid?
I'll see him next season. You know, that guy's in the dust. Okay, so
do you not think they should have buffed Boomkid?
I don't know. Moonkin's in kind of a state where it needs kind of a rework, which it's getting in midnight. You know, I think it's very good on single target, and it can't. I think the way that you have to buff it is not very healthy, considering where it currently lands. Yeah, because like, how would you make it good? You would buff the fuck out of its AOE. How would you really make it OP in Mythic Plus? You would buff the fuck out of its AOE, huh? And so you're like, yeah, I don't know, probably not. Okay, so this episode we're going to be talking. I think we're about to run back an add-on conversation for another hour, but we're gonna try to get through like the stuff that maybe we missed last week and the stuff that's not add-ons. And then if you want to hear about add-ons, probably listen to the final hour and a half of this episode, but the first 30 minutes might be us just talking about like the other news, including the fact that we have a date for early access housing on December 2nd, which I think actually caught a bunch of people a little bit off guard, just mostly because this is pretty early, I think.
I'm hyped for housing. I saw people have been, now that Alpha's out, you can kind of look around and explore it. It looks so cool. The way that there's like a neighborhood is sort of like an island, and there's like different areas of the neighborhood, and you can kind of like pick which plot of land that you're in and stuff. Man, it looks so cool. What
would you think if I created a YouTube series called like the World of Warcraft Cribs, where we just pay homage to MTV Cribs and go look at people's player housing?
Oh boy,
like one-off. I feel like.
The problem is, I think anyone who's like a content creator is probably just gonna have a really stupid, ugly house. It's gonna be like all the civilians that are gonna have like badass houses and like jumping puzzles and stuff. Like, imagine what Tettle's house is gonna look like. It's just gonna be like, I don't know, just some.
Well, we could go investigate. We could go investigate the everyday millionaires of World of Warcraft, not like the rich 1%ers.
The everyday millionaires.
You know those like house rework shows on like HTV or something, like from way back when? Yeah.
I love Over Garden Television. That's a good TV network.
All right.
We could be Property Brothers, Growl. Me and you.
I think I'm actually gonna do a neighborhood for like my stream to
Okay.
get
that's
because like I feel like doing it for like all my online buds or whatever is a little bit overkill, and also they're just gonna all have ugly houses. The problem is I don't know how to do it like logistically because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that want to be in it, and there's limited slots. I'm thinking like do like an auction, like largest donation gets in, or most subs gifted, or
I think
maybe
you're
just
breaking
like
the terms of service right now.
maybe like a WoW gold buy-in, and we'll I'll use all the gold to benefit the neighborhood.
HOA
boy.
leader Growl.
At that point, you're just charging rent
Yeah.
Oh, or
to your landlord. Okay, got
he's
it.
landlording. Yeah. All right. In other news, we have the full Season 1 Mythic Plus dungeon rotation, which, before I tackle this one, does anybody else have any thoughts on this? Because I got some words. This pool.
When you see something and you're like, it makes you feel old. Like when someone references like a song that you don't even think is old, but they're like calling it old. And then this is like the next level of that, where you're so old that you're just like decrepit and you just like don't even know. Like Algathar Academy is coming back to the game. Like,
Okay.
it was just yesterday that I was in the Algathar Academy.
Wiping to the tree boss,
Dude,
before it got nerfed.
I have to keep reminding myself, it's something that Growl said many times. Blizzard can make dungeons good or bad whenever they bring them back. But did we really have to bring back Skyreach? Like, is that really the dungeon that we were like, oh yeah, you know what, this is going to be awesome? There's like a wind maze in the middle of that dungeon. Are they going to remove it? Like,
I mean, like realistically, Seat, Skyreach, and Pit of Saron, I don't expect anything except like it's going to be a brand new dungeon. Except the art team didn't need to do anything.
I mean,
Right? Like,
it's
that's
gotta
what this
be
is.
right. Like, I think it has to be. Whenever I saw these dungeons, I just have to constantly remind myself it's not going to be like it was. It can't be like it was. They have to change these dungeons completely. I think that they're at this point just reusing art assets. Maybe they'll reuse some thematics of the boss to try to pay homage to what the bosses originally were. But like, hold on, let me see if I can find the wind tunnel part. Like this, like that can't be real as a part of this. Like, no, there's no way.
I mean, there could be.
This is giving me Vortex Pinnacle vibes. I didn't play this expansion, but this is giving me Vortex Pinnacle vibes, and I'm a little worried. Although, to be fair, I feel like a little bit of the discussion that wasn't really talked about too much was their not new, but like their current dungeon design philosophy. The last two dungeons they've come out with, Ecodome and Floodgate, I think are absolute bangers. I think Floodgate can be a little bit on the difficult side in terms of like there's some pretty demanding pulls in there. But in terms of like design and layout and like boss variety and stuff, I feel like those dungeons are really, really good. So I would be surprised if we get another Vortex Pinnacle stinker in the rotation. But I've been called out for being too optimistic about Blizzard lately. So
I mean, I think that everybody should basically learn at this point that, as Tuttle said, as Growl said, you just can't judge these dungeons because they're going to be completely different. Like Grim Batol kind of sucked on the rework, and that was kind of unexpected.
It had nothing to do with the rework though. Like it had nothing to do with like the Cataclysm version of it. They just put 100 casters in there, right? And you're like,
exactly.
wow.
Like, but Halls with Toner was a pretty good rework, and it's just like, it's just how good do they're basically designing new dungeons with old art assets,
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. Like Pit of Saron though is some pretty old art assets, to be fair. Like,
is it too soon for Alg Academy?
I think there were some like small problems with that dungeon, but that's another dungeon where I think from a layout perspective and from like the mobs and the trash density and stuff was a pretty good dungeon.
Yes.
I think when science took that dungeon too far when you had to like root the bees in the specific location and then snap the trees on the mini boss and then you would get one shot by Croth on the second scream. But these are like very, very high key problems, and also these like could be fixed. And I would say for most people doing the dungeon, they really, really enjoyed it. And there's like lots of big pulls, and
I mean, it's more just like, is it too early in Midnight Season 1 to bring back a Dragonflight dungeon? Like that's.
I mean,
that
I
to
just
me,
think
like,
they're running
blew my
out of
mind.
dungeons. Like the fact that like I always, before they did this dungeon rotation thing, I suggested the idea of bringing back 2 per season and then switching them. And they've done basically like 3 to 4 per season. And we've already had like 6 seasons of dungeon rotations now where they
Yeah.
bring back 4. Like they've already brought back 3 full expansions worth of dungeon back into the rotation. Like I know they said previously, oh, we don't want to go back as far as like Wrath or Kata, or we don't want to do really early dungeons, right? I remember they had this discussion in Dragonflight when they started this thing. But like, what do they do now, right? Do they bring back Siege of Borealis again, or do they bring back Gambit for the 4th time? Like, I think that they're just first of all, I don't want to say that this is complaining. I don't really mind this, right? Like,
Yeah.
to have this dungeon rotation like this, the way that it is, it's definitely an improvement. However, an unintended side effect of it is going to be like dungeons get revisited fairly quickly, like a lot more quickly than you'd expect.
Yeah. I think it's fine, mostly because AUG Academy is just like it is a very highly like fun dungeon, I think. Especially with the removal of bolstering and sanguine and
Oh, true.
Good
necrotic.
take. Good take. Yeah.
Good
we
take,
won't have
W.
that garbage. We could probably pull pretty big in that dungeon. Right? Like that was kind of the limiting factor before you get the book or the staff growing big with bolstering and then just like one shots your group or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
that did happen.
Sanguine too, like the mobs that would get stuck in Sanguine and like cast or whatever.
So like I'm kind of excited, but like you're right, because we did have we didn't have AUG Academy for every season because they introduced the rotation there.
Correct.
Right? Like so granted, we probably haven't had AUG Academy as many seasons as we have had like Shadowlands, for example, right? Like they brought back Theater of Pain. We did Theater of Pain for 4 seasons back then in Shadowlands, and AUG only twice.
Right.
So theoretically, it's in less seasons than some of the other dungeons, theoretically.
I mean, I like the dungeon. I was just more like seeing it caught me off guard a little bit. Seat of the Triumvirate's one that's I think that's probably the one that a lot of people they see it and they're like, oh wow, and they kind of raise their eyebrows. But that's mostly due to like what that dungeon meant historically. I don't expect this dungeon to be anything like it was in Legion.
Yeah, they chose this dungeon for lore reasons.
Yeah,
you know that.
Well,
Like,
from what I've heard, now I didn't
yeah.
play this expansion, but didn't they release Seat later into Legion? Like it wasn't released
it was
right
the
away.
last
So
patch.
and it was also like quite hard. Like it wasn't even that bad of a dungeon layout wise. It was just a very, very difficult dungeon that they released way late in the expansion. And I think
like
it wasn't
4
really
key level delta or something. It was
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
I think
Exactly.
a lot of people's memory of Seat is going to be, I don't know, like I actually am pretty optimistic about it coming back. Like even though obviously it was brought back for lore reasons, I think this is one that a lot of people, like basically every season when people are theory crafting what dungeons come back, I've been hearing Seat.
Yeah, this dungeon, it had a lot of problems back then. Like it had a hard DPS
3
check on
key
the
level
final
delta. Like great, what a good dungeon.
The biggest thing was the last boss had a hard DPS check. Like if you just didn't have the damage, it just wiped you, like straight up. And that kind of sucked for it, and that was your limiting factor, and it was the last boss too. Secondly, the graphics sucked back then, and there was a lot of purple on purple floor. So you had to go in with like inky black potion in order to see shit on the ground.
It's insane that you bring up the last boss. I remember almost every single one of my Seat of the Triumvirates wiped to the first pull of that dungeon because it required like a global perfect CC chain, because if the mobs ever came out of an AoE stun, they would immediately like wipe your group because they did like this pulsing AoE cast.
I don't remember that, but
I remember that. And then I remember that there are invisible patrolling mobs that if anybody ever body pulled them, they don't come out of stealth immediately, but then your healer could get healing aggro on these invisible patrolling mobs, and then they would go and whack your healer, and you just like, they just randomly evaporate.
Mm-hmm.
Seat was pretty annoying. I mean, the worst part about Seat was that it was very poorly tuned, which is fixable. I think that you know, I don't expect it to be anything like it was back in Legion, frankly.
Yeah.
Just reusable
What else do we have?
What's up with the Pit of Sauron? I mean, I didn't play Wrath. Don't know anything about Wrath. Is this?
So, you know which one Pit of Sauron is, right?
Yeah, it's the one with it's the one with the pit and the 1,000 skeleton mobs. It's the one where you get the hilt of thingy that you can sell in the auction house too.
The hilt of thingy.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing. That's the name of it. there's a BOE like weapon quest line item, right?
It wasn't it for Shadowmourne or something? I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Either way, there's a lot of skeletons. You walk around the side of a pit, you walk around another side of the pit, then you go up a hill and kill the final boss. The mechanics are very lacking. Although the first boss actually probably had a very good mechanic for its time, which you had to like line of sight your stacks off. You would like do a pulsing AoE, which increased your frost damage taken for every stack, and then you have to line of sight your stacks off.
Okay,
that's what I remember of that place. The last boss also had a fixate, but I'm sure all that will be changed. So like, who cares?
There's gonna be a lot of frostbolt volleys. I can fear. Yeah,
volley.
Well, that's gone now.
You won't hear that anymore.
Volley.
But yeah,
talk about add-ons yet?
Catalyst charges, and then we're moving on to add-ons.
I'm messing around. Volley.
So Blizzard ended up making some changes to the Catalyst. Squishy, what exactly is like the key takeaway with these Catalyst changes? Anything like super notable here?
The big thing is right now when you get like, let's say a champion piece or something, you're like, do I Catalyst or Force Set? It feels really bad, but Force Set's really, really, really good for my class. You kind of just feel bad doing it, but you do it anyways.
Yeah.
So now in Midnight, whenever you get a 4-piece, endgame content just drops Catalyst charges. So you won't like the second you slam that 4-piece, you're like, I don't feel as bad anymore because I'm just gonna go do more raid, mythic claws, delves, whatever, and I'm just gonna get more Catalyst charges. So when you get your myth track piece, boom. Now the question is, what's the drop rate? Because if this is like Legion legendary level of drop rate, that's not exactly helpful. But if it's like semi-useful, then like good change.
Like you could get one a week while you're filling out your vault or something.
Yeah, I mean it just depends down to the drop rate because like in theory, their developer note here is exactly on point. It never feels good to like slam a champion piece as your 4-piece in the Catalyst. But you do it.
Well, you say Legion legendary drop rate, but the way it is now is you get one Catalyst charge every 2 weeks. And so I assume that it'll be at least one a week, if not a lot more, right? So the way I see it is they're changing the Catalyst from being like you can tier a piece once every 2 weeks plus the bonus from KSM or whatever to it's like a mini progression system that you do at the start of the patch. Like basically you get one Catalyst charge, you can do AOTC or whatever to get the second charge. Then on the 3rd week of the patch, you get the 3rd charge. And then by then you basically have 4-piece. And then from then on out, you just get the ability to turn anything into a tier piece, assuming that you're at least playing the game. And I think it might be a little annoying so it depends on how it works for alts, right? Like, do you still get charges on your, because one of the nice things about alts is you just show up on your alt halfway through the season.
It says character specific. So it is character specific.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess what I meant is, are you still getting the bi-weekly charges or anything like that, right? Like,
yeah, because you have to get Force Set on that character to unlock it. So that is the question. Because if it's still bi-weekly, then for your rat alt, you need to wait like 7 weeks in order to get your 4-piece.
Well, you don't need to wait.
You
I guess I'm saying for like if you're coming back to a character later, you should just have a bunch of charges, right? Unless it's literally a brand new character. I'm not sure how that works. You might even just have the charges anyway.
You get the charges on a brand new character, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I mean, this is like overall a good change. I think the Catalyst has been a little bit of a pain point as Blizzard tries to figure out what they want it for. As we know, not like you want to get your 4-piece, and it feels really bad to not have your 4-piece early on. And so the Catalyst has kind of become that where it's like you're not necessarily guaranteed your 4-piece right away, but like you kind of want to raid. But if you don't raid, you like get it in a month, and it's like kind of weird, but it's definitely fine, and it's better than just having I guess they don't want to allow you to just farm Mythic Plus to get 4-piece like over and over and over again from the end bosses, but at the same time, they want to be able to let you get 4-piece if you don't raid.
This is gonna incentivize you more to do like LFR.
Oh, to get 4-piece.
Oh yeah, actually
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So
'Cause-
like the reason you would
Or
do
to
that is
split.
because you can get it. You can get the tier sets earlier, and if you can guarantee the 4 set, it doesn't really matter as long as the 4 set is on that character, because then they can go and like get a 20-30 item level upgrade on a hero piece. I was sitting there thinking about that because that's how it would be designed, because the contingency is being locked behind you having your 4 set, which does make sense. But it doesn't make sense if you get it from LFR, right? And you're like, oh.
I mean, it incentivizes splits more, right? Because even if you split, let's say like LFR, like you just need to get your healers or your tanks. Usually the last people to get tier, get them a 4 set of any type, even if it's all LFR veteran gear. Then they can farm Mythic Plus to convert their hero track Mythic Plus gear into the correct one. That is degenerate.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
I think that's fine. I see nothing wrong with that because in
Is that
general,
I swapped off of healer.
No, I just okay. The alternative is you just don't have your 4-piece as a healer, right? Like the alternative is you should do that anyway. Is my point, right? Like this doesn't incentivize you to do anything. This just allows you, if you were unlucky and get ratty tier pieces, that you can upgrade them, right? Like if you're a healer and you don't have your 4-piece, yes, you should be splitting LFR anyway. And now you can at least upgrade it and not have some beans veteran piece.
Is that the gameplay loop that you're supposed to promote? I guess is part of the question.
I mean, you're just saying at that point you're just proposing to delete tier sets. Then
It's
I don't
an
know about
interesting
that.
thing that I never thought of. No, I mean,
yeah, that's because you don't play healer. You don't think I do LFR on my stupid healers at the beginning of every tier because I need the tier pieces because I don't get anything from raid?
I don't, because normally those aren't like an upgrade. I also think that part of the problem too is like you have to get multiple pieces of tier normally, and not all the LFR wings are normally open immediately.
Usually there's 1 piece though.
Yeah, usually there's 1 piece. I don't think this incentivizes splits any more than we currently have.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to think about. Like, I brought up the idea of like detaching the legendary items from the actual gear. I don't know how you guys feel about tier gear, but I don't really like that you just have tier gear that has the same stats and you're like so incentivized to use them.
Yeah.
And you sort of have those pieces locked. I don't know, like maybe just separate the tier pieces. Like, what if you just need to collect like 4 catalyst charges and call them crystals of Azeroth or whatever, and then as soon as you get all 4, then you just get your tier bonus, and it's like completely independent of the items you have equipped. It just feels weird to me when it's like, well, I have this tier piece and it has bad stats for me, but I just have to wear it. And it's like, I can't change the stats or do anything with it. I just have to equip this. It just feels unnecessary, I guess, because especially now with, like, it's one thing if we're talking about Wrath of the Lich King, where, like, you go to the raid and you go to the Ice Crown Citadel and you get the armor and it's like, okay, this is like, feels like you're doing something or collecting something. But nowadays when it's like catalyst charges and everything, like, I don't know, I think it's lost a little bit of its luster. And if they just detached it from the actual physical gear pieces, it would be a better playing experience. But I mean, it doesn't matter too much. Like, I'm nitpicking a little bit here.
Yeah, it's a little bit nitpicky. I was also contemplating like whether or not it'd be better to just do 2 sets instead of 2 and 4. And then I kind of came to the same conclusion. I'm like, I feel like I'm just being nitpicky a little bit here.
Yeah. I did want to bring one more thing up. I started to delay Growl a little bit, but
oh, not another Growl.
So if you pull this up, so this is like, I know you don't give a fuck about transmog tunnels, but there was something hidden in here that I wanted to bring up and get your thoughts on it. Because they said something interesting. I'm just going to say the part that's important. In Midnight, there will only be 1 crest type per item track. And then later on, they say class set and raid weapon appearances will not change after the item has been fully upgraded to 6 of 6 on its item upgrade track. So I think they, like, the way I read this, and this is piecing together a bunch of different things here, is there is still 6 out of 6 on the hero track, 6 of 6 on the mythic track, but self-contained in its track seems to be only using those crests. like the hero track up to
Oh.
606 only takes runed crest.
You
Well,
read it as that. I read it differently. That's interesting. Okay, what were you saying? Carl, sorry.
I was saying that I read it the same way that Squishy did, and to me, that is better and it makes more sense.
Agreed.
The way it currently works now, and I'll use this example between hero and myth, but it's the same with all the tracks. You have an item that's 4 of 6 hero, and in order to upgrade it to myth, you need to spend gilded crest to go from those 3 item levels. But you're not actually, like, if you replace that with a myth piece, you're basically wasting those gilded crests, right? Because the bottom level myth piece, for example, is 707.
Yeah.
But to go from hero to myth, it costs gilded crest to go from 704 to 707. And like that was partly because I think of like the transmog reasons or something, like because it essentially turns the item into a myth or a mythic level item or whatever.
Right.
And I think that each track having its own crest makes way more sense than it being halfway across each crest. Like, I think this is just a way more intuitive system when I read it.
I agree with that.
It's so interesting because you guys read it like that. I read it as like the myth track doesn't start until 3 item levels after the hero track ends. Like whatever hero 6 of 6 would be, it would be like 710 this season. Myth 1 of 6 would actually start at 713. That's how I read it.
Well, that's both.
That's
right?
not mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not mutually exclusive. But what the way that you guys both described it right there could be some overlap. But the way I like understood that the first time is that it's going to be like broken apart by like 3 item levels.
I was sort of assuming both,
but that would mean that they're increasing the item level delta between normal to myth track gear from 39 to I don't even know what it would be.
Or it might be there's 1 level of crossover, which also would still change the delta. But
also,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like 6 of 6 hero equals 1 of 6.
1 of 7
is what I think it would be, which is
that would
3 item levels off of what it is now. But then that way, in order to get it to the first level of myth, it doesn't cost you those gilded crests. It costs you the hero crest.
Yeah, but then you also don't get a crest discount if you upgrade hero track gear all the way up. And then, oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, like it's really tough to tell because like if they keep it the same as like 4 to go up, then you're wasting crests if you spend any gilded before, and it just shifts it awkwardly to now you want a hero piece to upgrade with runed first, unless you can skip from myth 3 to 6. But if there's a separation between myth and hero, then that makes a lot more sense. But like whatever it is not in the game right now.
Kind of strange wording. Like, yeah, I guess we won't know until we actually see the gearing system fully fledged out on the alpha.
But it's weird that they just kind of snuck this in there. I don't know if intentionally or not, and just kind of left me like mind boggled as to how the fuck it would work.
Listen, if they want some other gearing advice, I think that I have a good suggestion here. I thought that what they did with this season, where you got better, like higher track rewards from killing later bosses in the raid, was great. If they could apply the exact same thing to resilient keystone levels, that would also be pretty poggers. Because only getting 1 out of 6 myth track gear from Mythic Plus, maybe not the coolest thing ever, considering the fact that your raid stuff is like 4 out of 6 or 3 out of 6. But a resilient 12.
Am I turning into a raider, man?
Yes.
I was about to disagree with you. If there's a theme in this podcast, it's me not knowing when to shut my mouth, so I'll just say what I have to say. I feel like Blizzard wants to push people towards the raid, and they want to encourage you to be in a guild and be raiding. And while all of these upgrades to Mythic Plus have been nice to allow you to get myth track gear, to allow you to catalyze your stuff, whatever, they're also sort of stripping away a lot of the reason to go into the raid. And I've actually felt like this season, getting that crest discount on those raid items feels like I'm glad that I'm raiding. But at the same time, in 2 weeks, the crests are going to be uncapped, and it's not going to matter at all anyway, right? So I feel like that's a nice little bonus for people who raid. Not that most people necessarily need that, but Blizzard is giving them that because they want people to raid. So while I understand what you're saying, it's like, there's this power creep of like Blizzard wants raid to be special, but we can't just keep inching up the power that you gain in Mythic Plus every time, when in theory you can now get all of the raid stuff from Mythic Plus aside from like whatever the cantrip items
This was the kind of the problem that I was having like 2 or 3 weeks ago whenever I was trying to bring it up on the pod, because like I felt like I wasn't able to really articulate my thoughts super effectively. But I had felt this way about raid gearing for a while, what you're kind of expressing right there. But I don't think that the crest discount on items that you take from the vault is like the appropriate way of tackling it. Like I think it needs to be like rethought in a more succinct way for making the raid gear more like feel better. And it's not make the raid gear more powerful than Mythic Plus gear, because I don't think it's that. And I don't think it's just like give you better track rewards from your vault, because I don't really think it's either of those things specifically, but something about the raid gear just feels really bad whenever you get it. And it's like, it's in my mind very difficult to explain exactly why.
Oh, I mean, overall, I think we'll have to see what they do there, because this is the first Midnight Alpha. There's still God knows how many more months left, but
Yes.
getting the feedback in is obviously important.
People are speculating. I saw some posts that people were speculating like February 20-something.
Yeah, apparently there was some leaker that leaked something on WoW, and it made its way to Reddit. February something. I don't remember what exactly what it was.
26th or something I read. Which,
yeah,
it's weird because it sounds like it could be pretty reasonable. That's one of those things that you read it, you're like, I can believe that.
I just don't
also
trust
heard
leaks.
that.
I just don't trust
also
leaks.
heard that. Basically, late February release, like early to mid March raid release. I mean, it sounds right. Like in my opinion, let's say you didn't have that leak, right?
Yeah,
that still sounds right. Like that's about what I would estimate, right?
I agree.
I don't think it
I would say
changes too
March
much.
probably, but late February.
It's maybe a little earlier, but at the same time, they said the early access housing stuff is in December, like the beginning of December. So that checks out with that path.
Exactly. Yeah.
Rolling out the early access stuff to get people to buy the game and pay in December, and then January is sort of like the pre-patch stuff into February, and then early access, and then
because there's also the holiday season, which a lot of
I don't care, dude. If housing owns, that's fine. Blizzard can do a money grab if they make a good game and everyone's having fun. I don't care. I'll make fun of them and I'll be fine with that.
This just said Pat Zergling from the aka Yummy TV, aka Growl from the Bench podcast says early access 3 days early being able to play the game is okay as long as the game is good.
No, that was I meant the housing for pre-order thing.
Not be able to play the game.
I mean, whatever. Like, fine. You brokies don't play the game, then whatever. Fine.
Okay.
I'll just enjoy.
All right. Let's talk about some add-ons, because some crazy shit has gone on.
Yes.
So we released an emergency episode where we recorded it, I believe, last Wednesday. Released it last Thursday, and since then, some shit has gone down. So Friday, I think, Weakauras made this post on Twitter and on their Patreon, basically stating, as it stands, we do not expect to release a Weakaura version for Midnight unless our needs are met. And it's like, what would make us reconsider? The ability to compute new secrets. Going into technical details, Combat API states it's no longer directly able to return information that add-ons can use, but rather returns secret values. So they want to be able to return the secret values as Weakauras. Alternatively, Blizzard could revert this change for personal combat state only, or revert this change entirely.
Oh. Okay, I want to jump in real quick before Growl. Yeah, I want to just jump in before Growl and like what we know about the add-ons, because people are obviously still figuring stuff out. It's only been like 4 days now, 5 days, 6 days. Where are we at?
Yeah,
almost a week,
something like that.
What is known about the things in combat? Blizzard has already stated that this is only going to be for in combat. It is not going to be for out of combat. And for the in combat add-ons, a lot of things are being shoved into a black box. That's what Ian said. And that means that a lot of things are going to be on lockdown as inaccessible. That is, your buff trackers, your debuff trackers, that kind of stuff. The boss mods, you're going to have to use Blizzard stuff. However, the only thing you can do to those is reskin them. So you can, recolor them. You can kind of move certain things around, but there's a lot of stuff that is still on lockdown. And I think what needs to happen here is this is Relo's UI, right?
Yes. This is tweet by Relo. So this is what a reskin could, in theory, look like.
Yes. So Relo did this, but it was throwing a crap ton of Lua errors because it was hacked together. and we're not. I mean, he's not sure how much will actually be able to be done, but yeah. So ultimately, like reskinning is possible, and that is basically it. Go ahead.
I assume you're talking to me.
Yep.
I
Only
mean,
you.
so they made this comment about, oh, Weakauras will still be in the game and you will still have party frame add-ons, but all of the features that we know and love from these add-ons are computational, right? While we enjoy being able to reskin and retexture stuff, you use the add-ons, and the developers make the add-ons to do, you know, the other stuff, the cool stuff. And so it's very likely that a lot of these add-on guys are going to not work on their project anymore, right? Because number one, it's going to go way down in popularity because you're not, you know, they're losing a ton of features, and it's probably a lot less interesting, the fact that you can't do any of that stuff, right? Essentially every party frame add-on will be very similar in the sense that, okay, you can reskin the party frames, maybe you can resize certain things, but you know, it's not going to be, oh, I'm going to recolor the people who have atonement green, and then when the atonement is going off, it's going to go red.
Gone.
And
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is all gone.
that that's all the stuff that people think of about party frames, generally speaking, is gone. And that's it. It just is what it is, right? Unfortunately, I think Blizzard. I keep hearing the phrase "scorched earth," and I think that's kind of what they have to do here, because if they don't, then you know there's going to be workarounds, and there's going to be like they made it clear, and they made a very aggressive stance against add-ons, and now they're going to have to say, okay, what do we want to allow, what's going to be okay, what's not going to be intrusive to gameplay. And we're in that stage now of sort of discovery, of figuring out what the new landscape of add-ons looks like in WoW.
I think it's important as well, like Blizzard, Blizzard, or sorry, the player base has stated, like, why are they just destroying everything right now? And realistically, the best answer is this is the easiest way for Blizzard to determine what is actually needed.
Yes.
Because if they remove everything, then you go, oh shit, I really need this one thing. And the majority, and then they can be like, yeah, you know what? We agree with you. If they do it the other way around, you don't know what you're missing until you're missing it.
So,
You know?
is this one an okay middle ground, reverting this change for personal combat state only? Like, because I read this and I was like, this is where I feel like they could land on it, where if you can read your personal combat state effectively, but not be able to read your teammates' personal combat state, and not be able to read, like, boss's combat state. Like, if you were able to do this for just your own character, where you're able to, like, really customize, I would say more so than what the Cooldown Manager currently allows. Is that really a problem? Because that to me was the part where I was like, because like if Weakauras could get into this state, for me, I feel like that would probably be a win.
It depends on what Blizzard's philosophy is. We've only heard about Blizzard trying to kill the logistical aspect of Weakauras. We've never we've never really been told anything about the desire for Blizzard to kill or to keep the class level of complexity, because the reaction to this, I'm sure you guys saw, is a lot of people who quit the game or have been trying to get into the game or trying to get friends into the game have kind of acknowledged, like, this is a great thing, great thing for the game, trying to get in without Weakauras. And if that is the line that they're going for, they want to make it more accessible to new players, they're not going to want that. They want the out of the box experience to be good and have everybody on a valid playing ground.
Yeah.
But if that's not their intent, then yes, I do think that would be a good playing ground. So it's just a question for Blizzard of what they actually value with the class, class stuff.
It's tough because your pre-existing players, they've already figured out Weakauras, they've already figured out add-ons, they've already figured out how all this stuff works, and those are probably some of your most, dedicated of players that they show up every single season. They're not quitting, and so for some of them, this feels like a huge step back. That's the thing that I've been reading, is that a lot of people were saying this is a step back. I don't really feel like I have enough information to assess as to whether or not this is a step back or a step forward. But a lot of people who, if you're gameplay focused and you already figured out Weakauras and you already figured out add-ons, and like, what do you care? The Northern Sky auto updater already updates your Weakauras for you, and all this other shit happens, and you love Liquid Timeline, and you already enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that some people are also having insane pushback and getting super mad about this.
I think that people, I hate to like tell people what they like or what they don't like because that's just so silly, right? It's ridiculous. But like, do you really love add-ons? Like,
People don't trust
you know,
Blizzard. People do not trust Blizzard, I think, is like the key thing here.
Okay, but this is different, right? This is different. This is talking about what you enjoy and what you find fun, right? And so to say, like, there's definitely some section of people that enjoy the level of customization, but at the same time, in terms of UI, in terms of textures, in terms of where stuff, you know, this design part is still there. It's more the combat customization of, oh, you know, can my barbed arrow glow when I need to reapply Thrill of the Hunt? And can my black arrow Weakora shine red when it's about to proc from my Call of the Wild, so I know to hold my global? Like, these sorts of things, as soon as you bring in, okay, it can read your combat state, it can read your buffs, then the computations of these things start to flood in, and it, number one, it changes dramatically the way that you interact with these add-ons and the encounters, and number two, it very much invalidates the Blizzard UI. Like, a really funny thing is the cooldown tracker came in the game, right? And it was dog shit. I'm not saying it wasn't.
It wasn't pretty fucking bad.
well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing though, right? Is you compare that to these Weakora packages that are doing this crazy stuff, right? But now if you say, okay, now delete your Weakora packages and Weakoras can't do any of these calculations, how does the cooldown manager stack up? I was playing around in the alpha yesterday, and it's actually almost identical to what I would do with Weakoras, right? Like, basically, it's got three different, so the cooldown tracker thingy had three different sections. You'd have your main abilities, your cooldowns, and your utilities. You can drag anything in those three different groups, right? So you don't even have to use those three sections. That's just what they're called. Sort of like how a UI looks like on a lot of people's middle of their screen. You can change the sizes. You can make your rotational ones bigger, the other ones smaller. You can change how many there are per row. Then there are trackers for certain important buffs that are essentially just like bars would be on Weakoras, where it's like, okay, here's your Thrill of the Hunt, here's the bar. It, you know, you can look at it and keep it, you know, same with like Life Bloom or Effluent or Resto Druid. Like, it's the computations that make the Weakora packages so powerful.
I would love to be able to appropriately track my Astral Power, be able to see predictive gains on Astral Power whenever I'm pressing an ability, and track my fucking dots. And as it currently stands, you know, this doesn't allow me to do any of those things, which are base features that I've had as long as I've played this game.
When you say, all right, you get them, Squishy, you get them.
You were going to talk about the track dots, right? Like,
it's fucking
I was going to talk about everything. Like,
okay, the track dots, you can just track them with your nameplates.
I can't track fucking Pandemic. I can't tell whatever. Okay, I can know. 6.4 seconds. I can reapply my Moonfire because that's under the Pandemic time.
There you go. You found a way to do it.
So explain. So by track Pandemic, what do you mean? So you're saying you want it to glow when you need to press it?
No, I don't want it to glow. I want to be able to see the fucking timer on my HUD. Like, because a lot of times.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with Pandemic then.
I think it's really annoying to like look at a nameplate. Yes, I find it particularly.
So to me, this is like
in all situations.
Not,
dude, imagine trying to look at Dimensius's nameplate. Like, what are we smoking? Like, the guy's in the sky.
Yeah, I couldn't even see it. Sometimes. No. But let me. I just think that like where you've dug your point about why the cooldown tracker is bad is just such a non-issue, right?
Well, like, no. I think it's fine for what it does, but I don't think it. I think that I think I'm losing features that I've had for 10 years, which is annoying.
Well, yes, I think it's very important as alpha testers and of people playing the game right now to say things in ways that they need to improve the UI, right?
Yes.
And so I think for some of your examples, somewhere to track your dots on the target, that's fine. I see
the resource bar is particularly annoying because it's attached to the personal resource display, which requires you to have the health turned on.
Okay, so a customizable resource bar, right?
I agree. Okay, I want to talk about
like
the
I just think,
quickly.
and I can hold on. So I can understand if you just like, but if your take is you have no faith in Blizzard to do anything well, then how can I convince you of anything?
That's not what I said.
But I'm just saying, like, you're like all of these things are like very basic features and have nothing to do with computations. Like this is nowhere in the realm of what they're trying to stop.
My hands are up. I didn't say that.
I do think the resource bar is a pretty big one for a lot of people. Like functionally and accessibility wise, there are some resource bars that are a little rough in terms of usability. One of them probably being the Ret Paladin Holy Power is not the best looking thing for usability and readability. Like I do, and then like Tettle said, you also can't remove the resource bar from the. So if you have the resource bar, you have to have your mana bar and your health bar there. Like I think that is a very valid concern.
I can't get a number. I can't get a number on the personal resource display either. So like, I would love to have predictive astral power tracking whenever I'm like casting Wrath on a target. I've kind of written that off. I don't think that Blizzard's ever giving it. I think that's gone.
I agree with that.
But I can't even tell what the number is, like without like looking at my player frame, which I think having to look at player frame is not. That's the reason you don't have. That's the reason that you have like a HUD, right? Is because you don't want to be looking at your player frame most of the time, and the only way that you can track the exact number of a resource that you have is looking at your player frame. And I'm like, well, that's not very good.
I mean, I just think that a lot of the points that you bring up and a lot of people that are bringing up are basically like a straw man argument. Like Blizzard is not saying anything.
I think this is good. I think these changes are good. Like, I think that Blizzard needs to fix their fucking shit. Like
yes, I 100% agree. But like, if we just whine and say that Blizzard needs to bring back Weakauras and we have no faith in Blizzard and they suck, that's not being productive. Again, I'm not okay. I'm talking to the people in the YouTube comments who are writing Growl W. He never lets Tettles talk. You know, I'm writing to these people. I'm not necessarily talking to you, but like, so dot tracking. Like, okay, then put dot tracking. Like, I think predictive resources and specific actions to remind you when the pandemic refresh is happening, that is beyond the line of like, that's a discussion that they need to have. Saying that the new UI is terrible because my mana bar and my health bar are connected is like ridiculous, right? Like it is so easy for them to change that and to create a customizable resource bar. And if your argument, and again, not you, but the chatters, if your argument is that, oh, well, Blizzard will never separate the health bar and the mana bar because that's not right now. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I guess you just, then go play some other game. Like,
I think that some of this stuff is achievable, which was like kind of what I was talking about. Like, I feel like dot tracking and all that stuff is kind of achievable. I think that pandemic is just a really dog shit mechanic just in general. I don't know how I would fix it, but it's not intuitive. It is a non-intuitive mechanic, and needing to know when a pandemic is like, oh yeah, 7.2 seconds for my Moonfire and 6.6 seconds for my Sunfire because they're different application durations, and those are the times, those are the windows at which I could refresh. Okay, that, like, come on now, like that's ridiculous.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, yes, there is ways for them to simplify the game, and they have been slowly kind of chipping at those. Like, there are ways that they can remove pandemic, but I don't know that a pandemic window is necessarily going to be that important for you.
I think that being able to, at least in their cooldown manager, being able to track dots on an active target and then apply, even if this happened in base game, apply a glow effect whenever they're under the duration of the pandemic, probably not the most unreasonable thing to ask for.
No, it's not.
Like that's kind of what I was like.
So what if it glows? What if it glows when your dot hits 0 then? What if you don't have the dot on your target, then it glows?
I mean, I would rather have it desaturated personally, and I wish that there would be something that I could do about that.
Yeah, but like that's essentially a reminder to press a button, right? Like that's telling you, hey, you need to press this button.
I mean, shit. Like being able to track your cooldowns is a reminder to press a button. Like, what are we arguing here?
We're arguing that if you make an icon glow when you're supposed to press it, that's not what your UI should do.
But the UI already glows whenever I'm in Eclipse, and it glows Wrath whenever I'm in Solar Eclipse because it's telling me to Wrath. That's part of the base game.
Yeah, but then they have control over that, I guess. I mean, I guess I see what you're saying, but I think it's different. I think your thing glowing because you have a proc or because it's your ability is modified is different from it glowing because it's just telling you to press it because it's a good button to press. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in Eclipse, it's telling you, oh, this button is now empowered. That's why it's glowing. It's not telling you that you have to. It's like telling you that it's changed or something has happened.
Yeah.
Whereas your Sunfire isn't changing. It's just it's glowing because it's telling you to press it because it's the correct button to press.
This is what I'm saying about Pandemic just being a really bad mechanic, right?
Oh,
I'm not trying to defend Pandemic. I'm only trying to say, like, we need to separate these things, right? Like, things that are computational is another discussion, and then things like, why the hell is my mana bar attached to my health bar? I want to put it somewhere. That needs to be in the forefront of what we're talking about because we need to get these things fixed. Because I agree, Blizzard sometimes is a little bit slower, doesn't make these good changes. But if we're constantly, mad about something silly or Weakauras or anything,
I've accepted that, like, this is the change that we're gonna need, or that we're gonna get. Not we're gonna need, but this is the change that we're gonna get, and it's just like the feedback is like, well, I wish that the Cooldown Manager did these things differently because I think that would make it easy. I would say easier, but like more streamlined as to how to play your specialization. And these are things these are things that I had for 10 years, and removing them is not fun.
I mean, I agree with that. Like, anytime you're going to lose something or the way, you're changing your UI, like, I have a feeling that no matter what, at the end of this, people's UIs are going to look pretty hideous. Like, that's probably the reality of this, Like, especially during combat when things are locked down, like, there are going to be some not pretty UIs out there. They're going to be functional.
I really don't think that this reload UI is, like, that bad looking. I actually don't think this is bad.
No, I don't think it's too bad either.
Like, the only thing that would change from like a live UI to this is instead of the stagger bar in the middle of his screen, it would probably give you the exact number that he's got attached to his stagger. Which
probably,
to me, I just don't really think that that's because he's moved his buff bar too here, right? So he's able to track his buffs on himself.
And that's only important buffs, I'm pretty sure, as well, because that you can do that in the new Cooldown Manager. Like. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
and like
I think that how he has it set up here is actually, it looks decent.
I'm questioning the nameplate, the unit frames, because the unit frames actually look good here. The base unit frames do not look good. And as you said, there are some problems with those. Like
the base unit frames are fucking terrible.
the numbers and stuff like that. And from what I heard, they are severely locked down while in combat. Which is a surprise because Rella was able to hack this together while getting a bunch of Lua errors. So, like, I don't know what direction they're going to go, and, like, we'll have to see as Alpha goes on, but they clearly, like, I think Blizzard just started off here by hitting everything off the bat and seeing what sticks. And as what Growl said, we really, like, people are going to have to pick their battles here as to what to kind of talk about, in my opinion, because you could complain about, certain things, but Blizzard's probably not going to get to all of them because they also need to agree that this is something that they want in their game. And I think they're trying to remove anything computational, as Growl said.
We got bars. Bars aren't bad.
Bars are good. I was kind of talking about this one, and that's fixed by an add-on because it's just cosmetic, which is great.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fine. Like, that's Bigwigs basically said that nothing much is changing on their end.
So nothing much changing, but there are still some things just for like the full disclosure. Like, you cannot rename abilities to include numbers or like what you're supposed to do, because I know people like renamed, like Tank Smash, like on Dimensius, the thing says Tank Smash instead of Massive Smash or whatever the thing. You can't remove spells that you don't want to see, so you can't remove the tank frontal from your timeline. You currently cannot do sound alerts, but Blizzard has said you can, so that should hopefully be coming. And you can't make custom alerts because that's the whole point.
Well, of course you can't make custom alerts.
So,
yeah, I don't know. Like,
being able to remove stuff from the timeline seems kind of bad. Like, you should be able to at least check, like, in the Dungeon Journal, how it filters DPS mechanic, healer mechanic, tank mechanic. Like, you should be able to filter out certain roles, I think.
Yeah. Theoretically, you should be able to, but again, like, hopefully they allow you to do that. Like, that, I think that's good feedback to have. It's just, like, information overload, like, let us customize what we want to see there, like the Cooldown Manager. I think that's good feedback. And something that they might
not all raid mechanics affect you, right? Like, if it's like targets 2 range players and they have to run out of the raid, like if you're a melee DPS, you don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really think that this. I think that this UI is like close. I mean, I think that there's maybe some stuff that I would change in terms of being able to track. But like I think that this is getting close, right? And it kind of comes down to what the cooldown manager tracks, because everything is going to be like a reskin of the cooldown manager. That's
Yep.
because I don't even think he's using cooldown manager here, right? He's just using bars.
I think the cooldown manager is the stuff above his unit frame.
Yeah.
That probably is what the cooldown.
Like I think this is the cooldown manager. I think these are bars.
Yeah.
Okay, my experience is like bars really work well for some specializations. Like my hunter, I've always played with bars as the cooldown tracking, but it's really not effective for some other specs. Like my druid just does not work well with bars. My LA shaman just does not work well with bars. Kind of always been. Mine is more like just like your mileage may vary, because like on Beast Mastery Hunter, the most important thing is like pressing barb shot on CD, which is tracked well on a bar, but like for druid, you're trying to maintain dots and build resources and then spend whenever your resources are high, as opposed to energy regen on hunter where it just like passively happens. And it's just like, I think it's kind of, I don't know. But we've seen a bunch of other people weigh in as well, where we've seen the people from Undaunted saying that the accessibility hits for no longer having Weakauras is going to be pretty bad. Obviously, Undaunted, a guild that has a bunch of deaf people in it. From my understanding, they get a bunch of deafblind members. I think they've got cutting edges before even, and they heavily rely on in-combat solutions for a bunch of their problems, particularly related towards Weakauras. This is gonna be tough. I mean,
yeah, this is a really hard one because, when you have these, whatever your problem happens to be, you're limited to what you can play, right? You can't play any other game, right? You're severely limited. And for a lot of people, I bet WoW was a very special game where it could accommodate a lot more people than normally a game would because of add-on.
yes,
Because you can change so much about the engine, and the community is so big, and there are these tools out there. It's not like you have to make them. They already exist. So this is one where it's very tough, right? Because this is one of the unfortunate casualties of the Scorched Earth nuking all this down. And I wish I had a good answer for how they could continue accommodating more people. This is just a tough one.
This is what they say. What is problematic is Blizzard's intent to replace Twitch-based mechanics with those that require communication and teamwork to solve. This is fine for anybody who uses voice chat, but Undaunted's primary method of overcoming communication barriers has previously been to use Weakauras and add-ons that read and send chat messages. For example, we have a custom Weakaura that looks for keywords in the raid warning chat and amplifies them on our raider screen. This is how our raid leader makes calls during our raids. Add-ons like Rayleigh's Spell Announcer also allow us to call out when we're using a raid-wide defensive and healing cooldowns in critical moments. We will not have any of these tools available to us whenever Midnight launches. And I think that Blizzard is like basically explicitly stated that they do not want stuff like this anymore too. This is like key. Blizzard does not want this anymore.
I think that's the hard part, right? Because this goes directly against what Blizzard said, as you just mentioned. Like, if the stuff that they use to communicate, it would be exactly the same technology that other guilds would use to communicate that,
Dude.
right? Like, nice Moonkin Monthly.
Yeah, my cat's on my keyboard.
That's such a tough problem to have, because like WoW has been a really, really accessible game for a very long time because of add-ons, and Blizzard's philosophy is just kind of going directly against this right now.
Yeah, it's just tough, right? Because let's say a new game came out, right, and it didn't have these features. It's like, well, you can't expect every game to come out to have features to be accessible to everybody, right? But like, WoW was that game for a lot of people
Yes.
that they could play and they could get it to work and they could figure it out. And a lot of them probably got deeply attached to WoW because of that very reason, and met a lot of other people with similar challenges. And it's like, yeah, it's a tough one. It's very, very tough. I wish I had a good answer here, but it just sucks.
I mean, it kind of depends on encounter design as well, I think, because we've always talked about, at the high end, if they simplify the mechanics to give people more time, more affordance, they reduce the damage intake, they reduce the damage check, like things become a lot more lenient. I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar thing in non, mythic, in heroic or normal, where maybe there's just more time where you can actually type things out. Like,
That was
Realistically,
that was my first thought, and I didn't want. I just don't know what they go through, so it's really hard for me to be like, "Well,
yeah.
I have a solution for you," you know. But that was kind of my first thought. Is like, I hope that the changes of encounters also affords them more leeway too. You know, just in the same way that
I
we're
agree.
less cognitively loaded. Hopefully, like maybe or you know, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of like chat add-on or something that could be used that helps communicate in game.
Because I think pings were definitely a very good start, right? Like pings have helped out a lot of people, and
Yeah. I mean,
like
pings are not particularly close to Weakauras, though. Like, really, they're
correct.
not.
In terms of accessibility, though, Blizzard's definitely lacking on certain fronts. The colorblind modes aren't the best, from what I've heard. So like I definitely understand where this is coming from, and it sucks.
Yeah,
You know,
being like, yeah, you used to be able to get cutting edges, and now you can't. Definitely, I feel like that is a really terrible stance. Like these people, they're completely getting boxed out of being able to even do the content that they were previously able to do.
yeah. I mean, I know like Mechatork gets brought up a lot, but like
Mechatork is
think
solvable with an
Mechatork
add-on.
Mechatork was solvable. It was solved by an add-on with a lot of people, but realistically, you add 10 to 15 more seconds to Mechatork, and you can probably just type out all the colors
Can you
in
type in
time.
combat anymore?
Yeah,
So
You can
pretty
type,
sure.
you just can't have the add-ons.
The add-ons
Ah.
cannot read it, but you can be like, type T like Tettle T blue G green or something.
You just can't put that on other people's screens now and stuff.
But you can't
right?
put that on other people's screens, but they can see it. So like,
Yeah,
there's probably something, but like it definitely sucks.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Blizzard did walk back some of their stuff. Blizzard responds to the add-on lockdown feedback, out of combat restrictions to be lifted. So basically, there was this thing where I think Mystical OS, we talked about this a little bit, I think, in the last episode, where he created a video, and one of the things that he was pretty critical of is the inability to be able to read chat or messages out of combat. So completely bricking things like, raid buffs, like a raid buff add-on, I guess, would probably be the easiest way of describing it.
Just like a way that like your raid leader checking that everyone has a food buff, maybe like a reminder to get a food buff and to get health stones, like RC loot council, just like things that make running a raid easier that a lot of people have gotten used to.
Yeah. So Blizzard basically came through and stated, this was not our intention, right? Whenever we're trying to make all of these decisions and make all these changes, our intention is one thing. Things that don't, match our intention, yeah, we're willing to walk them back. And so we agree that this is starting out excessively broad. We're going to make changes that only apply new logic while there's an active raid encounter or Mythic Plus underway. Our goal will be to make it so that tools facilitate sharing information before or after combat will not be impacted. I think it's fair.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of the way that people are like super all or nothing with this, where they're like, Blizzard has to go back. They have to go back to Weakauras. But instead, I think the most effective solution is being like, yo, Blizzard, we're having these problems. Like, this is going to be an issue. I can't track my fucking dots. I can't track I don't have a good resource bar. And then it's on Blizzard, the ball's in Blizzard's court then to kind of go through and fix that, right? Same with the combat reading text and stuff like that. Break timers, other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Seems some other tweets that we can go through and just talk about. THD has very strong opinions on this. And he says, this whole add-on thing is just Covenants 2.0. People defending it are people who don't play the game. People who play the game are just like, why? And I actually don't think that this is really true. I actually think that if Blizzard gets this correct, this is moving the game into a state which is more positive than it is negative. I think that add-ons, like, you shouldn't need to play this game. You shouldn't need mods to play this game, and downloading mods should not make this game easier to play. I think that there's people who say that Weakauras played the game for you. Those people are stupid. I don't think that anybody who's ever actually played the game at a decent level will actually say that. Those people are dumb. And it's one of those things that, at the same time, I think it would be a good thing if Blizzard can get the base game into a state where it is completely usable and you don't need add-ons. Because I think that whenever you have so much information and you're able to like solve mechanics with add-ons, I think that there is a huge problem at play here. Like, I don't think that you should actually be able to solve a mechanic with an add-on. I think that you should have to use, pattern recognition, puzzle, your ability to be able to solve puzzles, those things that you've learned over time to be able to actually kind of solve the game. And I don't think that this is Covenants 2.0. I do think this is Blizzard making a very strong stance on things, though, which I think might, push people to think that this is more similar to Covenants.
He's definitely rage baiting here, calling it Covenants. I know this is like a little bit of probably a coincidence, but I noticed a blitz of tweets and comments from Liquid and Liquid related people. I saw THD, I saw Hopeful, I saw Max, Cams. There was a healer, I don't remember. I want to say six different.
Atlas is tweeting about
Atlas,
it too. Yeah.
Zyro. There was a lot of people that were tweeting against the changes, and a lot of them are mostly right. Like, the game is going to be a little bit less fun for them because they have not only created a mastery on all of these things, but also in terms of simplifying classes and this, pruning that we talked a little bit about, things are becoming a little bit more simple and they don't have the same level of mastery that they had previously. So they probably will have a slightly worse time, and they're in every right to think that way. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, but you guys are all Liquid World First Raiders, and the game cannot be designed around World First Raiders, and that is just what these changes are. These changes are for the average experience of someone who wants to pick up World of Warcraft and play it to be better, and not feeling like you're required to use add-ons and stuff. I understand that if you're a very good player, you don't have to use add-ons, and there's ways around it, but for someone who gets into the game and sees it, I mean, it's basically like you're downloading a cheat code. Depending on what you're using, right? And it's like you get this feeling that you need to use stuff, and so I think they have every right to not like it, and these changes are not so great for them. But at the same time, this is for everybody that plays the game. This isn't just to say that, oh, your UI is going to look so ugly. That the comment that THD made, bro, I don't know if you've seen random civilian people's UIs who try and use Weakauras and add-ons and stuff, but they are people do not know how to use these. You're tinkering with your thing all day, and you know how to use every single tool and stuff. Your UI is going to look good no matter what, and their UI is probably actually going to look a lot better now that you're stripping down these add-ons.
Yeah, what do you think about what Roger says here, Growl, where he says, I think it's the good direction, but it might be a little bit rough at the start, but might as well get going. Won't be great the first patch, probably, but it will probably be fine mid-expansion's my guess. Mostly worried about healers, TBH. The rest should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with this. And again, what THD is saying is well, it doesn't change the fact that I'm a world first raider and I love all this stuff and I love the complications, and it's going to be bad. The thing that I don't like about what a lot of people are saying, and why I like what Roger Brown is saying, is that a lot of people have this idea that, oh, this raid tier is going to come out and it's going to be so buggy and the cooldown manager is going to suck and there's going to be problems and there's going to be this raid boss, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's World of Warcraft. Sometimes patches come out and things are dog shit. I don't know where you were in literally every patch of the War Within when Ellie Shamans were doing 40% more damage and rogues could hit a critter and get infinite combo points, and the raid was just crashing and bosses were unkillable. And I don't know where, this happens all with a game in the scope of WoW, this is going to happen a lot. And I don't think, if you're dooming in the sense that you think that a bad launch of the expansion and these features not working great is going to cause a mass exodus of the player base and everybody that is going to quit, I don't know where you've been all of WoW's life, but WoW has died and been resurrected over and over and over again in every patch, and it won't be that big of a deal. And I think the pain period is going to be well worth the convenience and the freshness that the game is going to have once it gets resolved.
I will say, Blizzard had thousands of add-on developers doing work for free that now they're paying their own employees to do. I think if Blizzard just wanted to, stay the course and continue on with the status quo, that would have been the easy solution. They're actually making the hard decision to make the game more accessible, right?
Yeah. I think, okay, so a couple things on this. The first is, I think part of the issue and the reaction to this was Blizzard's communication on this was absolutely terrible. In the same way that I said their communication about Dinars was absolutely horrible. Because they didn't announce this. The last we heard was Blizzard talking about it in wasn't it with an interview with Dratnos and Max?
Yeah,
and
there
we
was,
just
there
heard
was an interview with Dratnos and Max, yes.
this is our plan. Like, this is what we're gonna do for the future and beyond. And then we didn't hear about it for a year plus. And then we go to the content creator thing, and suddenly they're talking as if they've announced it, and they're like, yeah, so when we remove add-ons, we're gonna do this, and we're like, where
What
did
do you
this
mean
come from?
remove add-ons? Dude, I saw
It's like,
it was Ian and whatever that other guy's name was, and they're like, yeah, UI and accessibility discussion. I'm like, why the fuck is Ian doing a UI discussion? And then they're like, yeah, so we're locking down all this stuff, and I was just like, what am I listening to?
yeah, it's like, where was the middle step of like, hey guys, like, we've made the difficult decision to lock down add-ons at the start of midnight. Like, this is a decision that we really had a hard time making, but we think it's for the better of the game. Here's how it's going to work. Here's our plans. Here's what we have ready for you. Instead, we got nothing, and the information is scattered fucking everywhere. And
But I
because
mean,
the information is scattered everywhere, people are mad.
But like, who is we? Like, I think for the people who are add-on developers and the people who are like competing in the race world first, this was probably very abrupt and unexpected, and it kind of sucks for them. For 99.99% of people, what do we need to know? Like, why do we need to know, right? Like, if anything, I think what they did was smart, because the longer they prolong this idea of we're deleting add-ons, the more of this like uncertainty and chaos that's going to sow. Like, you've been seeing in social media lately, right? Like, I think the way that they snuck it up on everybody, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, all this stuff's gone at midnight, and then they released the alpha so that people can see it. I think this was like arguably the best way they could have done it for the community.
WoW players
Like,
love
what-
to be in the know about information that's coming out in advance. Like, I think
Yes.
the WoW community is one of the communities that values transparency the most out of any other game that I've ever seen. They just value knowing things are coming in the
But I
future.
mean, it's months away. Like, we know
they
now.
love an announcement for
Well,
an
Yeah.
announcement.
See, my point is this: is that there's no world where they would have done it where everyone would have been happy. Like, they're going to get this backlash, and everybody's saying the world is ending, no matter when they announced it. Like, I think that's
This is their
just-
announcement. I think that what they were doing with the
Yeah.
alpha launch was their announcement of it, by the way.
like, if they
I-
would like, okay, let's say they announced this and they said, okay, this is going to be for season 2 of Midnight. Like, nothing would have changed, right? Nothing would have changed for 99.9% of players.
I think it's just the shock of it, because like, it's so soon. The last thing that a lot of people heard was, yeah, Bert.
Meow.
His name's Doug.
Oh, Doug. My
Yeah,
bad.
his name's Doug.
Oh. The last thing that a lot of people heard was like, we're gonna slow roll it out. Like, we're gonna make sure that our stuff is in first before we take stuff away. And now they're gonna take stuff away, and we're not sure if the stuff is gonna be done. I think that's kind of like the big like, what happened? And I think like we saw with Dinars, with any time that people kind of get surprised by things, you kind of need a lead up, otherwise people are gonna get.
Well,
really
why
pushy
why
about
would you ever use the Cooldown Manager or nameplates when Plater and Weakauras exist?
Oh, I agree with you.
Right.
I
So
completely agree
unless
with you.
they have to strip these things out, or people won't use them.
Right, but why couldn't you say, for the Midnight Alpha, we are going to be removing add-ons. We want to use the Cooldown Manager, give us feedback on it, so that it is ready for launch.
Well, that's not how Blizzard operates.
What do you mean?
Okay. Yeah,
Wait, so
okay.
what? How is that not what they did?
Uh,
What do you mean? How is that?
Our week
What
was
is
getting
the difference?
deleted. No.
We went from Ian talking with Max.
So
and
you're
Drat
you're
noticing in the
saying not.
future.
So you're saying not delete Weakauras then and just have it all in the game when it comes out.
I don't think they
No.
should have released a presser being like, okay, you know what they did with
Yes.
the state of combat, how they talked about they released a presser talking about wanting to prune down a bunch of abilities and stuff like that. They should have done something similar for add-ons.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. They just needed to explain everything, because the last time we heard about add-ons was, I don't even know
Why?
when the fuck.
I do.
Why do
okay,
they need to explain it?
As somebody
I
who's
don't
heavily in
understand.
the know, I feel like the only people who truly understand the expansiveness of all of these add-on changes are add-on developers. People who are actively developing add-ons right now are the only people who truly grasp how big some of these changes are.
I would say the only thing that I would like to know that I wish they conveyed more information about is specifics about their goals of things that they want to remove and don't want to remove.
Yes.
For example, but I think that they don't even have that figured out yet. Like, I don't even think they know if they, I think they're still figuring that out.
Then you could argue
That's a
that it's too
possibility.
soon to remove add-ons if they don't really have like a defined goal. I actually think that they do. I think
I just think there's going to be this pain period. Like, I think you guys are pretending like somehow they could do something that there would not be a pain period where they release the cooldown manager and the nameplates and then they're not like they're just perfect. Like it just won't happen.
I actually do think that there is a world where we get to a part where it's, I don't want to say seamless because features are being removed from some people, so some people are always going to be mad.
Right.
But I believe that we can get to a part where the objective is met in regards to what add-ons now do for you in the game relative to what Blizzard wants them to do.
I don't think it would have got rid of all the anger because that's impossible. I think it would have helped lessen it slightly.
Probably accurate.
I just think that, like, okay, if they, like, let's say they put in all this new stuff, but they still let you use Plater and everything, right? Mostly nobody would use the in-game stuff, right? Almost everybody would still use Plater and Weakauras and stuff. And then what? And then eventually they remove them, and then now everyone's mad, right? And your argument would be like, oh, well, they have more time to iterate on it, right? Like, but
that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
All I'm talking about is just their communication sucked. That's my only point of feedback here.
I don't know. It's like let's say your 5-year-old kid has to go to the dentist next week, and it's the day that he has to go to the dentist, and you're like, oh, by the way, you're going to the dentist, and he's like, Mom, you didn't tell me. It's like, well, you would have just whined and complained and been worried about it for the last week. I just snuck it up on you, and now we can get out of the way and be done.
Except WoW players, right? Except WoW players value the feedback, right? That's what I was saying earlier about World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's community. What your 5-year-old would say too. But I mean, in actuality, like their life is probably better if you don't tell them and you just get it out of the way. And
no, except we're actually the mom in this instance who has to schedule the going to the dentist part. You can make decisions.
What are we scheduling?
Some people might, I've seen some people, and they have every right to do this. I don't think they should because I think they're being dramatic. But they're trying to refund the game now that they pre-purchased. Again, I think it's dramatic. But, some people are doing that.
Is this you?
No, not me. What the fuck?
I don't have a response to
what the fuck would
I don't have a response to
Bro, I make a weekly podcast and YouTube videos and stream. I'm not refunding shit. They got me hook, line, and sinker. Like, what are you talking about? Me? Not playing regardless. I'm addicted. Like, please, be for real.
I just think that the subsection of people who really, really love computational customization that will lose that is just so small, right? Like I fully understand that there's a lot of people that like customizing their UI and changing stuff and doing what they want, but a lot of that will still exist. It's only the computational side of it of being like, okay, well, I want my UI to do this if this.
Okay,
that's going, right?
What do you think about JB's take on this then? He says, I don't understand the optimism that a company that has spent 20 years avoiding the UI will suddenly make the current alpha UI good in the near future. There's no evidence to support this optimism and plenty to actually refute this. Build the UI first, and then we can start talking about removing add-ons. And then he fucking slam dunks some guy in the comments section. Which this is an all-timer.
Are you asking me or are you asking Growl?
I was asking Growl. I think Growl was contemplating.
You can comment while I think about it.
I think it's exactly what Growl said, is if the two things exist simultaneously, no one is going to use it and no one's going to test it. So I don't think they can reliably build it without... They can't build it to where people want to no matter what, because they're going to be removing something no matter what, because add-on developers are very focused. Blizzard is designing a game that has so many different facets to it. Add-on developers are focused on one specific thing. And I don't think they'll ever get it. So if the two ever exist together, no one will use the new stuff, the Blizzard stuff.
I think it's unlikely that. But do we think it's likely that people are just going to completely swap off add-ons? Because I feel like for me, I'm going to still be using add-ons just to make stuff look better and retexture it. But
I think that this is basically what the argument is saying, is that don't take away the add-ons until the base UI is good, right?
Yes.
Don't give us this period where there's no add-ons and the base UI sucks, right? Unfortunately, everybody's opinion of what makes the base UI good is going to be dramatically different. If you're somebody who plays Hunter or Boomkin, you could care less about the default raid frames, right? But if you play a healer, you're so passionate about cell and about looking at debuffs and all this stuff, and you don't care about all this DPS computational stuff, right? And everybody has all these different needs and expectations, right? There are some people, even world first raiders, who basically look like they have base UI, and there's other people who have spaceship UIs. And everybody's definition of is the, like, there's no world where everybody's just going to be like, oh, wow, the base UI is great, and this does everything I wanted. Okay, Blizzard, delete my add-on. Like, that just won't happen, right? Like, that's a fallacy, and that's something that just won't, like, that'll never, you're basically saying that because you know that that will never happen, and then that way, like, Blizzard could never remove the add-ons, right? Like, at any point that Blizzard removes the add-ons, there's going to be people that are mad, people that are saying the base UI is bad. And, like, look, I think it's possible that the base UI is bad, but I just think that this is so not a big deal. Like, why are we so passionate about the UI? You know what I'm saying? Like, I bet all of us and almost everyone that's listening has played a game with an arguably dog shit UI, and it's still very fun to play. Like, this is one very small piece of the puzzle, and it has a lot of impact on new people coming into the game and encounter design,
Are
which
there
both
new
have a
people?
huge...
Are there new people coming into the game?
Oh, come on. Are you kidding, bro? Everybody who's tweeted that, I've seen that pop up on Twitter now, and they just get flooded with, yep, still playing, like, started playing in Dragonflight, started playing in Shadowlands. Like, I get that so much in my Twitch chat where it's like, Daddy, will you tell us what BFA was like? Will you tell us what Shadowlands is like? I just started playing in Dragonflight. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. There are so many people that start playing WoW every single day. And on top of that, there might not be quote unquote new people, but there might be people who played in
Put the poker
Kata
chips
or
down.
whatever.
Put the poker chips down. Throw
Dude,
them
that
away.
was so quiet. How did that
Throw
come
them away.
through? It's
Throw
all
them
the way on the
away.
other. I just wanted to shuffle a little bit.
Throw them away.
Yes, there are new players, Tettle.
Okay.
I think the interesting thing there is you said, like, I completely agree with you, Growl. Like, everybody's definition is different because you mentioned raid frames there. And I can heal off the base raid frames perfectly fine because I've never changed off them.
Yep.
Are they optimal? Absolutely fucking not. But am I used to them? Absolutely. And, like, people, there are so many upgrades to the base raid frames that you can make to make your life better, especially as, like, a resto druid. But, like, I've just never decided to change because I'm fucking lazy as shit. And I don't heal that often.
I do think that focusing on what you can control as opposed to trying to min-max your UI is, I would argue, it's more fun to, like, focus on the gameplay and less on the UI, because being able to design your, I think it was with Evade whenever he was on talking about, like, how to improve at Mythic Plus. He was like, yeah, designing your UI, that is like a skill set that mastering that.
Oh, it's a massive part of your skill set, and that's why I think a lot of people are. And, again, rightfully so, because WoW has been this way for a long time. It is a way that you can create an edge, and a lot of people have gotten good at it, and they, not just because they want to keep their edge, but also because they've gotten good at it and they enjoy it, right? It's like, I understand the trepidation of it, but
yeah, for
the game as a whole and the community as a whole, like, we just will live in a so much better of a place when this stuff is streamlined, like, if you want to really highly customize everything and make sure that every bar skin is the same and change the font and everything and all that, like, you can do all that and make it look nice. But when we're talking about, okay, I want this to glow when I should press it, like, okay, now we're stepping boundaries here.
Yeah.
So, and I want to talk about nameplates too.
We
kind of glossed over it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a screenshot of the nameplates on the alpha right now. And so one huge comment is, wow, this Mythic Plus is going to be impossible without the targeted spells week, where you're just going to get shot and bolted and you're not going to know it's on you, and Blizzard doesn't want, and now here we are, we see the next version of the nameplates, and not only can you see the target that's cast on the nameplate, just like the Weakauras does, but also there's a thing on there that says highlight when it's on me. So now if a mob is casting on you and it's a bolt or a shooter, will it be a little bit different, right? It doesn't go and put up the thing in the middle of your screen, right, when you're targeted. But clearly, right, this is, and again, I'm not saying Blizzard is going to roll out with every single feature, but this is 100% like a very Weakauras thing, right? Like this is not anything to do with the base UI. This is computational. This is something that, but Blizzard has said, hey, this is something that's important that we need people to see this.
Yeah. Yep.
And I expect plenty more of these type of features to roll out. Like again, if you look at the top, there's 6 different buffs or debuffs on the mob. And I think that one very important feature that's missing from frames and nameplates is blacklists and whitelists, being able to filter what you see on the frames, and that should be in the UI, and we need to fight for that.
I unironically would use these base nameplates if they weren't so fucking ugly. I'm gonna download Player to reskin them, but the base nameplates now are a lot more usable in terms of the information that they're giving you. Like they really are, and realistically, no other nameplate add-on is going to give you an edge. Like, you know, I might go through on Plater and recolor some stuff. Recolor some mobs, make the nameplates look less, I don't like this outline. I think this outline's ugly. I would prefer it to be more box shape. Also think, for some reason, clicking the base nameplates, it's impossible to click base nameplates. I don't really understand what the hit box is on the base nameplates. That could get fixed, and I would never be upset. But, I mean, like, I actually think that their nameplates have come a long way in terms of usability.
I agree. I mean, nameplates...
They're ugly.
I just saw a Reddit post.
They are
I
ugly.
just saw a Reddit post on Competitive WoW that got severely upvoted and is now deleted. But basically, they were complaining about how they're gonna miss the targeted like spells Weakauras.
Yep.
And I'm just like, but you have this in game now. Like, yes, it doesn't have the sound, but we don't know what sound customizations are currently available. They're not in the game, but they've said they're coming. But like, I have a feeling, and I wanted to mention this as well. There are so many people that are massively overreacting to this that I think just need to get into the game when it's available and just try it for themselves.
A lot of people have not logged into the alpha to test anything, and
in their defense, they can't log into the alpha. Okay, Squishy, up there in your Wowhead community manager horse. Why don't they just log into alpha and play? They could see how great it is.
But legitimately, like, the feedback is good, but also it should be within reason until you get I'd get to try it for yourself. Because there is a lot of valid feedback coming out, with the accessibility or with certain things that you feel like are missing. But until you actually try it, and until the encounters are actually out, we won't know the full impact of this change.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. Like, I actually need add-ons to start working on the alpha and beta as well. So I can kind of like Reload did here, customize something that I think looks better than what I'm just getting out of the default UI. That would be preferred. And then also being able to do Mythic Plus and raid bosses beyond the scope of what we have, because currently we have a raid boss, kind of doable, and then we have 2 dungeons on normal mode. That's not doable. But once you get Mythic Plus and raid testing, real raid testing, that'll be a really good litmus test to be able to see how is the UI performing for me, at least. But I would love for, add-on developers, once they get a working beta version as well, being able to start looking at things and figuring out what I can customize and what I can't. And then, give some targeted feedback in that regard too. That would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, one last thing about the nameplates too, and the idea of seeing the alpha or whatever. What I wanted to bring up is there's been so much discussion about what is Mythic Plus going to be like when you can't track your team's kicks. Who says you can't? How do we even know that won't be a feature? To me, that's arguably somewhat important. I mean, not to keep talking about Fellowship, but that's a feature that's built into the Fellowship base game.
They should steal that.
Right? People also said this, right? People also said that it'll be very difficult and annoying when you can't see when you're targeted with the targeted Weakauras. And it's literally in the nameplates now. This whole idea that, Blizzard will never, you'll never be able to use any of these features. Who says there won't be a feature where you can see 1 or 2 major defensive cooldowns on each raid frame to know if they're available, right? Like Omni CD does. Especially now that defenses are simplified and there's only 1 or 2, right? To me, I don't understand. Blizzard could do that. That's absolutely feedback. That I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying that a lot of these features that everyone is just assuming that Blizzard wants to delete, in my opinion, they're doing this scorched earth thing, so they're seeing, okay, what do we need to put into the game? What features do people really, really miss that are important and vital to the way they play the game? And in my opinion, instead of just saying the sky is falling because it's removed right now, we need to say, hey, this is important, We can't just say, oh, bring Weakauras back. I want to calculate everything. It's not so bad. I don't know, just let's talk about individual features and see what they'll add to the base game and see what it'll look like.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it really like the end of the, like everyone's just talking about it would be the end of the world to play a season of Mythic Plus without a kick tracker? Like, dude, we had a season of Mythic Plus with Vortex Pinnacle in the rotation. That is way worse than anything that any UI problem. I would take any UI I would delete any add-on to delete Vortex Pinnacle from that rotation. So to say that this is the worst possible thing that could happen in the game is like, I just think it's such an overblown part of, like, dude, if you log into Midnight and a bunch more of your friends that quit the game are playing again because of this, I don't care what add-ons are deleted. Like, that's going to make it more fun for me.
Yeah. So much of this is encounter based. Like, legitimately, do you need a kick tracker if there's one kick per pack? Probably not. Like, do you need to track who is bolting you if the bolts don't hurt or there's one bolter per pack? Probably not. If healing is solved as if they announced it was going to be, bolts turn into triage damage and are no longer defensive or die, or defensive kick or die.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different ways that this could go, and we just have to see once that content actually goes out, and then we can give that feedback, because right now the feedback is kind of less impactful because of that. We're in a very different. They're changing a lot of things in addition to add-ons.
I need to see the dungeons. Like, I think that giving feedback in terms of like how impactful is losing the kick tracker is 100% contingent on how many caster mobs we have. Like, if I don't
Exactly.
like if there's one caster mob on a pack, or one caster mob per 2 or 3 packs, even crazy here. You don't need a kick tracker. Like, just throw your fucking kick, and if a bolt goes through as well, if that's tuned to not actually do that much damage, even at like super high levels, great. Right now we're cooking.
Grell, when you mentioned the kick thing on the nameplates, did you also mention it glows?
It glows, really?
When you're target.
Yeah, when you're targeted.
So the highlight important cast thing is a little weird, because what determines what an important cast is or not? But highlight when targeted by enemy, that's what that does, right? It glows when the mob is targeting you.
Yeah, so not only does it target your name, the bottom part with the cast bar glows like red.
Yep.
Just a little extra thing that, like, I didn't know if I heard it or missed it, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
I will say,
I mentioned it briefly, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
Something that will get removed from healers, just because there's no way this is staying, is being able to tell that somebody's getting targeted by an ability on party frames. That was actually so nice. Just being able to see that, like, oh, this specific thing is targeting this person.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, again, I think that these are quality of life improvements that make it easier to play, right? I'm not arguing with that. However, there is also healer syndrome, right? Where you're literally staring at your party frames. And a lot of what people do with their UI is they move more and more things to their party frames, to the point where they're literally not even looking at their character, right? And like, I think depending on encounter design, it might not be so bad to be looking and then seeing, okay, I see whose name is highlighted on, or I see where the mob is facing or whatever, right? Like, here's the thing. And again, I'm not trying to convince people I'm right. I'm just trying to, like, explain that things might not be so bad, in the sense that I think a lot of people have this worry that they want there to be this crazy level of voice communication, and they want everyone to get in Discord to do 12s or whatever. But if you look at the way Mythic Plus has gone over the last 3 expansions, they've been more and more pug friendly, especially with this expansion, in terms of simplifying mechanics, not requiring like crazy stuff. For high keys, I would say people are still doing crazy stuff, but dude, people are pugging higher keys more than ever nowadays. Like, the amount of people in Group Finder playing high keys is crazy. And I think that they are not, and they've talked about, remember that survey about Group Finder and improving finding groups and stuff?
Yep.
Like, they're not trying to go back to days where everybody's in Discord, right? Although we enjoy that, as that's what we're used to and we like doing it. I don't think that's going to be the case where, oh no, it is just impossible to do tough keys or tough raid stuff without Discord, and you have to communicate all the time. Like, I think while again, it might be true while they're working out the UI and things aren't perfect, that you have a little bit of an edge if you do it. Like, that's not their goal. Like, their goal isn't to strip all of your information and not give it to you. Their goal is to be like, okay, well, we want to control the information that you see so that we can cater the design to it, right? Like, we know it's just so hard. Like, I see this meme all the time about encounter design and how boss design is bad, and why don't you make good bosses without Weakauras first? And it's like, dude, Fractalus, on PTR, I'm sorry, but that was such a good boss. It was so fun to try and do that boss, and you could kill it within like an hour, right? But the problem is, if you have a weak aura that solves everything, then that boss becomes pissed. Like it's just the easiest boss ever, right? And that's what everybody's gonna do. So what did they have to do? They had to tune it to be kind of hard so that it was close to impossible to natty do it, right? So that you had to use the weak aura.
Dude,
And now what? Now, and they didn't even hit the mark with it, right? So now if you use the weak aura, it's easy, and if you don't use the weak aura, it's impossible. Like that boss is in a terrible state, and that's not because of bad design. It's because of like, well, what are they supposed to do? Like when everyone is using weak auras to solve the fight.
something I've seen is like, I don't know if you guys have seen this commentary a bunch. They're like 21st Manning is getting better, and I'm like, who cares? It's just like I don't. Who cares?
You're gonna come raid lead my guild for me,
Dude, that shit sucks. Like 21st Manning sucks.
Yeah.
It's a thing that only the sweatiest of sweaty guilds are gonna do. Who cares if 21st Manning gets better? I'm six Manning. I'm sure is great in Mythic Plus, and you motherfuckers won't even get in voice. So who cares about 21st Manning getting better?
Yeah, again, like I talked with Hopeful a little bit because Hopeful was one of the people that was complaining about the stuff being too complicated or the stuff being too easy and the classes being too simplified.
Oh, dude,
dude, some of the stuff that he talks about with Mage, like, dude, I swear mages have this like secret Patreon only rotation content, and some of the stuff that he's pointing out and talking to me about, I'm just like, this isn't even in the fucking Sims and the guide and shit. Like, how do you even figure this out? Like, how are you even, like there's just so the level of depth and like advanced knowledge that these guys at the top have with these classes is so crazy. It is, like they're going to be a little bit bored by this, but for the average player, dude, go in the Mage Discord or the Disc Priest Discord and look at some of the dumbass questions that get put there that like, dude, people can't figure this out. Like,
Hopeful was mad that the Mage was getting pruned, and he was like, I could teach you how to play Mage in 2 hours and you would get 99 percentile parses. And I think that he's just so lost on the fact that the reason that most people parse poorly isn't that they don't know their rotation. The reason that most people parse poorly is because they're just not very good, right? Like they're not making the correct decisions. They're not able to plant and cast. They're not in the right spot. They're not using their cooldowns at the appropriate time. They're missing casts inside of their CD windows. More often than not, like, dude, it doesn't matter if your ability is literally pruned down to the one button rotation. Bad players are just going to make bad decisions all the time. Like, and like that to me is like kind of the same thing with add-ons and weak auras. It's like that's why the weak auras play the game crowd always just piss me off, because weak auras never play the game for you. Bad players are just bad. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention on add-ons for me is the first thing is the removal of bigwigs on trash. Like you're not going to have trash cooldowns. Like, this mob's for Mythic Plus. Like, this mob's gonna AoE in 20 seconds or whatever. Like, anything there you're gonna be missing. I don't think that's part of the timeline tool.
That doesn't seem intended.
I don't know that. I mean, is it important that we don't know? We don't know what the trash does.
Okay, now I'm going to say that trash is more important than bosses in Mythic Plus most of the time, and the fact that we need a add-on that puts cooldowns on nameplates. Okay, we need an add-on that puts cooldowns on nameplates here. I think is more indicative of a design problem with what trash has become in Mythic Plus, more so than anything else. Now, I don't think that Blizzard needs to keep the cooldown on nameplates thing. I think that that's bullshit. I think they need to design better mechanics for trash. I think that some mobs in Mythic Plus could use a timeline though. Or like a specific mechanic that's attached.
It's possible they add it, or I missed it. I didn't see it, but I could be wrong on that. But like, do you think it needs it?
Some mobs, yes. So like the streets, the Direhorn in streets that does the pulsing AoE, the Wicked Thrash AoE, or the mob that does the power kick in streets that does that every like 20 or 30 seconds. I think that tracking very specific abilities is good, yeah.
I think that it can be solved a little bit by better telegraphing and a longer windup. And I think that they get away with bad design because people have the add-ons and weak auras anyway, and then they sort of... So a good example is the Ritualist and Dawnbreaker. That ability comes out so fast where you get targeted by the two beams that if you don't You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, if there was just a little bit of a wind up to it where you could be like, oh, I'm targeted by
There
this.
is a
I
wind
should
up.
press
There's just not a wind up on the fucking the laser zapping you. There's a wind up on the cast itself.
well, you can't see who it's on, right? You don't
Yes.
know, right? And then, actually, Growl, it cycles through and targets the same two people, and then other.
I wasn't going to be like,
yeah. But my point is, like, I think that this is something that can be solved by the mobs, right? Like, I think that if a mob has like a really dangerous AoE, then maybe just give it a little bit longer of a wind up so you can prepare, right? Give it, if the mob has like a beam that targets you that does a lot of damage, like in general, I think the mobs do okay with that. Like, for example, the elementals in Priory, they start channeling a thing on you, and you know, hey, I'm about to get this beam, to the point where like you can insta meld or instant invis, and sometimes you even do it too early because you're like, you know, you're targeted and you haven't even gotten targeted yet. So I think that this is, while it's true that there are definitely stuff that feels like it requires a timer, you know, again, if we don't have those timers, I think Blizzard will be able to see much more quickly, hey, this mob's a problem. We need to fix this.
For me, it's like a case-by-case basis, but maybe if they just design the mobs better, it would be fine. Like, I'm thinking like the Lieutenant mobs as well that do that Rift Blast on you in streets as well, where they put that dot on you that you want to kind of like LOS. Yeah, I mean, maybe if that cast is like 5 seconds long, it actually gives your healer a better time to prepare, as opposed to having an internal clock that knows it's 20 seconds. At the same time, you could put it on a cooldown tracker, right? And then be like, yep, these lieutenant mobs have these abilities that we have flagged as dangerous, that you should actually know the cooldown of.
And I wouldn't be against that, to be clear. I think that my point is, like, it doesn't have to be bigwigs. I think they could do it otherwise, but also they could, right? Like, they could add important boss or like trash abilities on the timer as well.
All right. Any final thoughts? We move on to Q&A.
Yeah, last thing.
Okay.
Last thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they add more accessibility down the road. Not at midnight launch, but like, you know, you see like other games like Overwatch, there's like a, you know, my ultimate is up ping or button, or like a, you know, you can see like my cooldown's up, my kick is up, I'm kicking next. Like, we could see more directed pings if they plan on expanding the ping system, like, which would be really cool. And I would definitely welcome that for, you know, the voiceless comms of I'm just kicking next. If they don't want to go the fellowship route, which they really should, that is an option.
Yeah, Overwatch is an interesting example because that is a game where if you pay attention, you start to realize how much the game is actually telling you. You know, like, it's not, it's even to the point where it's a little bit on the nose, right? Where it's not even like, oh, this sound means this. Like, it'll literally be like, you can hear your ally being like, my ultimate is ready, when there's, you know, or like, you know, and every single ultimate has like a sound that you know that it's happening or whatever. And I think the sound might even be different depending on if the person is on your team or the other team, right? And so, yeah, I think there's just so much room there to be more eloquent. And I understand people's concern that Blizzard sometimes is not eloquent, but I believe.
Like, I think it's one thing to be like, the tank knows that, oh, my group's cooldowns are up because I looked at my add-on, versus your team, your DPS pinging, my cooldown is up, and then your tank's like, oh, I can fucking go big this pull. Like, there's a pretty big difference there.
What do you think about Aug Evoker? Do you think, because I
we
think
hate it. Okay, next question. What if there was like buttons or whatever? Like, I'm trying to think of what game does this, but where, you know how there's like a chat wheel kind of thing? Like, what if there was a button that a tank had that would be like, you know, help me, like, that meant like give me an external, or like the healer saying, we're in trouble, guys, like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if you had like a small selection on like an OPI wheel that, oh wait, you can't use OPI in combat. But if you had a small selection of things that you could do that would put messages on your teammate's screen, right? Like, these are massive improvements for pugging, because it's not even like you need some add-on. This is just, you know, you might need a way to turn them off or whatever, but these are things that would make pugging so much better, actually.
That's why I brought it up, is because like pings, I think, are the kind of the future of WoW in a way. Removing the add-ons, but improving the communication through pings or preset messages. Like, as long as they don't add like a bait ping, I think we're okay.
Dude, pings are so funny because pings are like one of the only ways to get somebody's attention. So you just ping people for anything. You like, our guy is in bloodlusting, ping him. Like, he needs to press a defensive, ping him. Like, he needs to do the mechanic, ping him. And like, you'll be doing a pug and some guy will just be pinging you, and like, you don't know if he's talking shit or he wants you to do something.
We need Blizzard to create a kill ping, and then we can use it toxically.
Yep.
Yeah, we just start pinging the mage. Kill. Kill Jang B.
Uh,
All right.
Dude, they could literally delete every add-on and then improve the in-game communication thing, and it would be better for pugging than it is now.
Do not let him cook. Okay, moving on to Q&A.
Settles loves add-ons.
Yep, love add-ons. God bless. Wax Snyder says, is it throwing/rude to hard mute certain people who talked too much during prog, not shot callers or raid leaders? So, Grau, you actually do this sometimes in your raid, right? You actually mute people?
Oh, this is a great question because we did player reviews yesterday where we had everybody who raided come in voice with me and the other officers, and we would talk.
You're an officer in your
there,
guild?
unfortunately, yeah. And there were several people that admitted to having 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other players in the raid muted.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable, by the way.
Well, I think it depends. Personally, I think it depends on the situation. So, like, I think that if there are, again, not shot callers, not raid leaders, if they're communicating something that's important, then, you know, you need to have this person. You can't just permanently have them muted or blocked or whatever. But, like, I don't know, even to a point where, like, let's say someone has a parrot and their parrot is like chirping because they have voice activation and it's annoying. Like, and I just might not want to hear it. Like, I see nothing wrong when there's 20 people in a voice call, like, there's going to be 1 or 2 people that either have bad mic etiquette or bad quality or just are annoying. I don't think it's so bad as long as you're doing it to avoid drama. Like, as long as you're not like, hey, you're muted for the rest of prog, idiot, and then you mute them, like, that's not good. But if you're just doing it to try and strengthen your own gameplay, I actually think that's fine.
I would try to avoid it as much as possible.
It's because she's like, yeah, but don't do that.
I mean,
Like, it's a very gray area because you want to make sure that you listen to everybody. If it's like your raid leader, that is a red flag. You should probably leave that guild like immediately.
You're out of there, yeah.
Yeah, but like, I think there are times when it's probably okay. You could probably sneak it under the radar and no one will notice.
To me, it's not like an ultimatum, but it's like what is the problem with that person that you're willing to mute them, right? It's not like they're slightly impolite or something like that. It's like you probably have a problem with them. Like, at what point do you just start looking for a new guild? Like,
well, I think that I very much value the idea of progging with a guild, and that if someone is annoying you or you're not happy with it, muting them for the tier and then figuring it out at the end is a much better solution than just, you know what I mean? Like, if you're halfway through the raid and some guy is really bothering you, like, looking for a new guild, I think that's unreasonable from a team perspective to be like, I'm really annoyed by these 2 people, so I'm just going to quit the guild in the middle of prog. Like, yeah, I think that's a lot worse.
I agree with that. I think it's unreasonable to mute them. Personally, I think it's unreasonable to mute them. Like, at the end of the tier, it's either like, you know, something's going to change, right? Whether it's you leaving or whether it's them getting kicked or like whatever's going to, something has to change at the end of the tier. I understand, like, you know, just kind of sucking it up. I don't personally think it's acceptable to mute somebody, no matter like what their status in the guild is. Like, I think that, like, I would just like get over it. And like, if I'm so annoyed with that person, we're leaving at the end of the tier, but we're not going to mute them in the middle of a raid.
I think it depends from player to player. Realistically, the best solution is to just talk with the person. Given, like, depends what you're meeting them for, but if it's like they're talking too much, you could probably talk with an officers or them directly, just like, hey, like, I'm trying to focus here. Like, can you just tone it down? Like, this is me being bad, but as an example, I think I forgot my second core at Avencius like 5 times because people were talking during the flight. And
yes,
that's just my brain. Like, I just learned to tune it out. But like, because I'm not gonna mute the people that are talking during flight. They like 5 people have to do something, and I'm just a dumbass who forgot the core sometimes. When
I think
I'm the yapper bitrate. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm the problem here. I am the yapper bitrate though.
I guess you guys are making it seem more personal than it is.
I think
you know, like,
I don't think you mute somebody because they're
like, if
a
some
minor
guy won't,
inconvenience.
like,
I think you mute them because you don't like them, right?
I mean, it depends. Like, I don't know. There are some times when I'm just not having a good day, or like maybe I'm not feeling well, or maybe I've had too much caffeine and like I'm just having a hard time like locking in and concentrate. Like, dude, there are times when I'll mute the entire Discord when I'm raiding. Like, that's not that common, but I'll have the entire Discord muted for polls sometimes. like just because it's too noisy or my brain feels jumbled. Like I'm not doing it.
Ye-
There are some times I'm doing it because I personally don't like somebody, but like if some guy just is talking too much or I'm having a hard time concentrating, like I'm not like doing it as a personal, like a lot of the people I mute don't even know if they're muted. Like I'm not, and it's not even like I don't like them as people. I just don't want to hear you talking right
I guess
now.
what I'm realizing from this is that the level that it takes for me to get agitated to the point where I'm willing to mute somebody is like almost equal to the point where I'm like, all right, something's got to change.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
You're muting over like minor things, I think.
Well, also, I'm not gonna be confrontational or like make a deal about it. Like for me, that level is very, very high. Like for me to confront somebody seriously and like make a big deal in the middle of raid or in the middle of prog would be like very, very high. Like I will so much gladly rather mute them.
I think for me, there are very real people who have, who get agitated easily or too many noises cause them to defocus or stuff like that. Like I think there are real reasons to mute someone or mute in general. I think it's just very much on a case by case basis as to who, why, and where. Like if you message your raid leader like, hey, I'm muting for the farm bosses, like, mind is a little jumbled right now. Like I don't think there's any issue with that. But I do think just communication is important, making sure that your officer's raid team knows that if they call on you and you're not there for an important assignment, like to message you or something. It to me, it's just all about communication. There's nothing wrong with muting, but as long as you communicate it.
Yeah, it's all within reason, right? Like I'm never or like very, very, very rarely doing it to the deficit of prog. Like I'm not sitting here muting people that would ever have something important they would need to comms me or like muting the raid leader when I need to know stuff, right? Like I'm doing it strategically in a way, right?
Yeah.
I'm never like, oh, they're calling for me to do a mechanic and I'm just sitting here muted. Like if I ever need to do that mechanic, I'll either know when I need to do it or I won't be muted.
Did you catch Squishy almost call you a Tylenol American, Growl?
Oh
What?
man.
A Tylenol American.
You're joking, but I've been like having a bunch of dental pain again, and I've been slamming.
What does that
Tylenol
mean?
lately.
I'll tell you later. All right. Next
Okay.
question for the Q&A from Numps. He asks, the term healthy for the game, or this is healthy for the game, is a phrase that seems to be used whenever somebody wants to argue in favor of a controversial change. Almost a sort of new spin on you think you do, but you don't, whether it be for turbo boost and our gatekeeping, restrictions of add-ons, etc. What does healthy for the game mean to you guys?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a great
I love the way he worded that because I think that's caught for me especially too, right? Like I definitely have used that or mentioned that as an argument, but it really isn't an argument, right? It really isn't.
Put the chips away.
No, it's a Q&A. I'm thinking I needed to like sit back in my chair a little bit and do a couple shuffles and like think about what you know what I mean? Like I don't know. What do you think, Squishy?
I think healthy for the game just basically is just code for something that people think will make the game better. And I think for people that talk about the broad strokes, it's for something that they think the majority of people would enjoy about the game. But for individual folks, it's conflated as something that I think would make the game better. So it's very, very loose definition word. When I talk about healthy for the game, it's, from my knowledge of the many different people who play the game, this is what I think would make the most people happy. But I don't know that everybody thinks that way when they talk about healthy about the game.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to me. It's like, okay, whenever I think of like for the health of the game, I think of like what helps increase the longevity of the game just in general, and what tries to get more people involved in playing the game. Whether it be, things such as making things more accessible, whether it be, adding achievements past 3KIO, and it tends to be decisions that don't directly impact me. Things that are, or maybe they do, but more often than not, they don't necessarily impact me because I kind of play in like an isolated bubble. But there are things that will undeniably be good for the majority of the player base, and those things are created for the quote unquote health of the game. And I think that, like, restriction of add-ons is a good way of describing it, where people who are gameplay focused players who have played the game for religiously for the past 10 years, who have their UI set up a certain way, who use add-ons, who are kind of inundated with that system, those players have no problems with add-ons. So, like, why would you change it? And it's like, okay, so it's not for you specifically, but it's for everybody, right? It's for creating an ecosystem that makes the game itself better, not specifically for an individual who is already caught hook, line, and sinker into the game.
Yeah, I love this question. I think the question asker is actually exactly right. I think when you're to tell somebody that X is better for the game as an argument for why what you're saying is different, you're basically saying to that person that you're not seeing the bigger picture and that you're thinking about only either yourself or certain specific things, and you're missing the bigger picture, essentially, right?
Yes.
That's what you mean when you say that. And I think, as he cited in his example, you need to be careful when you say that, because you might be the one that doesn't see the bigger picture when you say that. So I actually agree that I think that the more that I think about it, I don't know if that is really a good thing to say going forward. I'm obviously, as someone who is chronically online, as someone who's kind of old, as someone who is streaming and very
Kinda.
attached to the community, I think I do have a very good understanding of the ecosystem and what's good for the game and what's not. But for me to just cite that and say that I do isn't accurate. And I think that I like this question. I think that going forward, I want to use that saying or that phraseology less.
I think it's
question.
Whenever you're dismissive of other people's thoughts a lot, I do think it can be problematic no matter what verbiage you're using. What were you gonna say, Swishy?
Okay, this is just a hypothetical. Would you say that being able to swap covenants freely is healthy for the game? Was healthy for the game?
Yeah, I think so.
Growl?
Yeah, that's a complicated question.
Because this is one that I feel like one of the things that the vast majority of the player base all agreed with, no matter whether you were casual, transmog collector, mount collector, like did normal, heroic, mythic, almost everybody wanted this.
So
It doesn't. You have to balance.
What if they came out with, tomorrow you get a bonus 100 crests? Everybody wants that, but that doesn't really, like, what if they just gave you $100? Or what if they made the sub fee 0? Like, there's tons of things that just because everybody wants it doesn't mean it's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
true. Yeah.
So it's ultimately Blizzard's job to balance, friction with accessibility, right? And I think that non-swappable covenants was their attempt to balancing friction with accessibility, where they thought that, the RPG elements of having this, I am a Kyrian Moonkin, the RPG elements of that would outweigh the annoyances whenever you accidentally bait your entire community to go in the wrong covenant. As it turns out, they were wrong. But I don't think it was like ill-intended. I don't think it was ill-intended, right? I think that maybe is like health of the game implies intent that's not always there. Blizzard has every right to make whatever decision they want, and sometimes it's the wrong one. I don't think they're ever doing anything that's for like to try to make the game worse. They're always trying to improve the quote-unquote health of the game.
But nobody is ever trying to suggest something to make the game worse.
I do think that some people,
very rarely.
I do think that some people kind of get caught in their own bubble sometimes. I mean, we all have problems with this sometimes.
Right, but that's again, you have to be careful with
yes,
that, right? Like that's sort of anytime we are rebutting an argument with that, like the other side is better for the health of the game. That's basically what you're saying, right? Is you're saying you don't see the bigger picture.
Yes.
You're in your own bubble, right? And I think that you have to be careful when you say that or you think that.
And I think
that's kind of what the question asker was saying.
Yeah. And I mean, whenever you and I, like all three of us are talking, I mean, I feel like sometimes, we can get lost in the weeds. At the same time, I think everybody's kind of opinion is equally as important as one another's. And like, even as content creators, our stance on things doesn't have greater weight than anybody's individually, and I think that that's kind of an important thing to know.
Yeah, but like sometimes people just need to shut up and listen to me.